Hello, welcome into the Farzy Show presented by Destination Retirement, coming to you live at 6 a.m. right now from Steven Sayer Jewelers Studios. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Friday morning and a wonderful Friday to this point. Yeah, happy Friday. It's supposed to be drizzly, supposed to be rainy. It's been beautiful weather. Still supposed to have some nice weather, but hopefully you guys can enjoy this weekend that we have before us. NBA All-Star Weekend, that is. And if you would have told me before the season that Ben Simmons was, in fact, not going to be playing for the 76ers, yet the 76ers would be 12 games over 500 and in third place, three-way tie for third place, 2.5 games out behind the Bulls and the Heat, I would have said, you crazy. Or I probably would have said that Joel Embiid be leading the league in scoring if that's the case, and that is the case. Joel Embiid going off, especially last night against the Bucks, with the Sixers getting a bounce-back game after their awful loss to a team that we won't mention in the game that we really won't get into too much. Sixers come roaring back against the Bucks. And how about this? Sixers run a 45-point second quarter and some dominant Joel Embiid play late in the game in the fourth quarter against the Bucks to a 123-120 win against Milwaukee in Milwaukee. That's what you want to see. That's what you need to see. A bounce-back game like that. Joel Embiid 3 for 4 from beyond the arc. And if you listened to me yesterday, and I know our friend Mike Seibert did over there at Destination Retirement. Mike, I know you and I were going back and forth. I thought Joel Embiid was going off last night for 3.5 assists as the over-under for his assist numbers. And I thought, yeah, I got to go over that. And sure enough, he had 5 assists last night. So I gave you that number yesterday. That number hit. Maxey's over on 16.5. That hit last night. Embiid, I wasn't sure about that 31.5 over. It hit anyway. And then the Sixers were going into last night at plus 6.5 underdogs. So if you bet the money line last night, it was a good night for you, which I'm happy for everybody if that's what you did. But here was one of my favorite moments from last night. And not one of my favorite moment from last night. Late in the second quarter, Tyrese Maxey went to drive the lane, and I think he settled for a floater, ended up going to the line and shooting 2 and hitting both. At that commercial break, at that next timeout, this was great. Allie LaForce, who's another angel sent from heaven to talk to us about basketball. Allie LaForce catches James Harden coaching up Tyrese Maxey on the bench, saying basically, take that to the hole every single time, got to be aggressive, use that. And then in the very next, a few possessions later, Tyrese Maxey gets a breakaway opportunity, fast break opportunity, takes it all the way from, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't fast break, it was from the top of the key. Dribble drive penetration, tacks the rim, gets the layup, gets the N1, goes to the line, hits the free throw. But after he got the N1 call, you see James Harden jump off the bench, and you saw the camera's got a great shot of this. James Harden jumps off the bench and starts looking at Tyrese Maxey. You can read his lips, plain as day. Thank you. Thank you. And that's ultimately what we want to see from Tyrese Maxey time in and time again. Because one of the things that we've heard from Doc Rivers, or we've heard it reported from Sam Cassell, they want Tyrese Maxey to be aggressive whenever he can. Any possession. If he's going to be driving to the rim, go to the rim. Don't settle for a little floater. Don't pull up for a jumper. Attack, attack, attack. Get them in foul trouble. Go to the line. Go for those N1 opportunities. And apparently, I don't know if that's James Harden just doing that on his own, or if that's Doc Rivers and Sam Cassell saying to James Harden, hey, man, we've told him. Like, we've given the message to Tyrese Maxey a million times to just continue to go strong to the hole. We want to see more of that and less of the floaters, less of the pull-ups, all that stuff. So just continue. Would you mind just kind of, if you see it in the game, just you tell him now. Because he might not be hearing it. Like, we might be just wearing thin at this point. James Harden does it. Gets up for a guy that's supposed to be a terrible teammate and all that. And I know it's the honeymoon stage, so everything's amazing. But this in particular, when it comes to trying to groom young talent like Tyrese Maxey, I love seeing James Harden get off the bench and get excited. First of all, I love the fact that he's even in Milwaukee. I love the fact that while he's in Milwaukee, he's taking part in shoot-around. He's trying to participate and just quell that learning curve that could be out there by the time they actually start playing basketball together after the All-Star break. So I love he's trying to get whatever he can right now, even though he's not playing with this team. Loved seeing that. When it comes to the big man, Joel Embiid, I've tried to tell people, like, this is just, it's ridiculous at this point. If this man does not get MVP, I don't know what the hell to tell you. I've told you before, I've never rooted harder for a guy to make an MVP. I've never rooted harder in my life for a guy to get an MVP more so than Joel Embiid. And although that's the one thing I'm looking for him, I want to see this team obviously make it to the finals. That'd be great and all that. But if it comes to just individual talent, I am just, every single night I watch this guy, with the exception of that game that won't be mentioned, I am just dazzled by Joel Embiid and what he brings to the floor. Like, you don't see this. And I saw somebody tweet out again another comparison to Olajuwon and saying that he's like Dirk Nowitzki and Olajuwon combined into one person and all that. And yeah, you can, that's fair. But like, we've still never seen this before. A true 7-footer shooting step-back threes. He had 2 separate step-back threes yesterday as part of his 3 for 4 from beyond the arc shooting. We see him then go and play bully ball in the post. We see him find other teammates, as I mentioned, those assist numbers being up. It's every single athlete that comes through Philadelphia that has any semblance of potential, they should look at Joel Embiid and go, look what this guy's doing every single year. He is finding something new and adding it to his game. This year, it was the step-back jumper. And I played a lot of cuts for you yesterday from Scott Van Pelt from that interview. And one of the things Embiid said in that interview was that he wants to take his game to the next level. Well, one of the things SVP then brought up to him was, hey, look at this video. You're taking step-back jumpers with James Harden, trying to add that to your arsenal. What is your goal? Just to be completely unstoppable now? And to Joel Embiid's credit, he goes, no, that's been part of my game. I've been using the step-back jumper. Now it's a matter of perfecting James Harden's step-back jumper. And if you have the opportunity to get the guy that's most known for that step-back, and he's now on your team, and you could pick his brain about how to use that and how to do it, you do it. And that's what you really saw last night, whether it was a step-back jumper from the baseline, whether it was from beyond the arc. You saw him incorporating it and everything. And here's the thing. Joel Embiid could have easily had another triple-double last night. George Niang missed a couple of assist opportunities for Joel Embiid, and ever since Joel Embiid, I don't want to say went off on him, but ever since Joel Embiid went over to Tyrese Maxey the other night when Tyrese Maxey didn't take his feed on the block from Joel Embiid and go right up and dunk it, which would have given Joel Embiid an assist, ever since then, I've kind of been noticing that Joel Embiid really wants to get those assist numbers up before James Harden starts playing. So last night, I watched him dish, and I'm seeing guys just not hit open shots. Tyrese Maxey missed a couple of threes. George Niang missed a couple of threes early. Tobias Harris was able to convert on a couple of assist opportunities there. And then later in the game, Niang started to get it going for him. Furkan Korkmaz started to go. How about Furkan Korkmaz last night, tying it up with Giannis Antetokounmpo with what, a minute left, 2 minutes left? Ties it up with him, gets the jump ball opportunity. Sixers weren't able to win that part of it, but still, that was huge. If Giannis comes down with that, you're talking about making this an even closer affair down the stretch. And this was a night where Giannis was hitting threes for the Bucks. Giannis hitting threes, and the Sixers were able to withstand that. It was an insane game. It was awesome. It's exactly what you wanted to see going into the All-Star break from the Sixers. And one of the best things about this was, if you watch that second quarter, not only did it have that great moment between James Harden and Tyrese Maxey, that was speaking of betting, I hope you bet the over in the second quarter if you took part in that. 79 points were scored in the second quarter alone between the two teams. That's bonkers. That's crazy. Loved what I saw from the Sixers last night. It's exactly what you needed to see going into the All-Star break. Love what you saw from the Sixers last night when it came to bouncing back from that awful performance prior. And here's the thing. I didn't really see him much in the second half, but Tobias Harris was very solid. He ended up with 19 points for him. Nice. He ended up with 19 points, but he was very solid in that first half when the Sixers had some struggles. Both Joel Embiid, Maxey, George Niang, as I mentioned. But overall, in the first half, you saw a pretty strong performance from our man, Tobias Harris. Which, again, if he can be a 20 points a night guy with James Harden in this lineup as well, the Sixers are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And that's the other thing. If you would have told me also that you were doing the end of the second half, the end of the first half of the season, if you were going through that without now Seth Curry and Andre Drummond as well, and again, not any Ben Simmons, zero Ben Simmons, and you're third in the Eastern Conference, 2.5 games out of first place, and then you add James Harden, the Sixers are going to be the team to beat in the second half of this season. And I know everybody is going to look forward to watching Tyrese Maxey play during All-Star weekend. with Rising Stars competition. He's got the skills competition now as well. He just got upgraded to that as well. He's going to be filling in for somebody who's injured. Joel Embiid obviously playing in the All-Star game. This is going to be one hell of a final 2 months of the regular season. And it's going to be something that I know we're going to be waiting for with great anticipation, waiting with bated breath to see what happens with this team and to see if they can make it past the second round of the playoffs and the conference finals for the first time since the Iverson years, and also make it into the NBA finals for the first time since the Iverson years. This is going to be something that a lot of people are waiting on. Now, speaking of the Iverson years, our guest today, Matt Breen, who will be joining us momentarily from the Inquirer, is not just a baseball writer anymore, folks. No. Basically become a columnist. He's writing feature pieces. This is amazing. He tweeted this out yesterday. We'll go over this with him. By the way, in the interview, I think I said Johnny Lucas. I was wrong. Johnny Davis was Allen Iverson's first head coach in the NBA during his rookie season. But how about this picture? Larry Hughes, Allen Iverson, Matt Geiger. You know what I think of when I see this picture? I think of 7th grade Marc Farzetta. There's a little pup watching the Allen Iverson era get underway in Philadelphia. We're going to be talking about, because the All-Star Game's in Cleveland again. Allen Iverson was booed, and I honestly had forgotten that because he started to become the bad boy of the NBA. It was on the outs of Dennis Rodman and on the upstart of Allen Iverson. And reading this story yesterday, I'll flash it for you. I flashed it for you during the interview as well. But reading this story about Allen Iverson, I forgot, because I was a young kid and, you know, the Sixers were my team and Iverson was obviously my guy. You know, you don't think about as a 14-year-old, oh, I wonder what the rest of the league thinks about our star. Like, you don't think about that. And the tattoos, the cornrows, everything, how he dressed at press conferences and all that. Like, I was just like, okay, that's whatever. Like, he's not Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, you used to see it in the Armani suits. You know what I'm saying? Like, the 90s Bulls, the Scottie Pippen and the Zoot suits, whatever. Like, Allen Iverson was never going to be that guy. And it never dawned on me that he should be like those other people because he wasn't those other people. And one of the things that stuck out to me, I remember joking around one time with my friend Big Daddy Graham, the late, great Big Daddy Graham. And we were talking about Allen Iverson getting older. And I made a joke about how, I was like, do you ever think we'll see like Allen Iverson, like, we're wearing a suit and tie? You know what I mean? The other thing we'll see him like on the sidelines, like as the elder statesman, like Julius Erving, for instance. The other thing we'll see him, and no, because it says that's not Allen Iverson. That's not what Allen Iverson does. And in this story, two things jump out. One, Johnny Davis says to Allen Iverson, "Hey, Allen, why don't you put on a suit, man? Why don't you dress a little nicer so that way you can get some endorsements because people are going to be able to sell that. That's what people want to see." And you know what Allen Iverson said? That ain't me, man. That's not me. That's not what I do. That's not for me. They're going to like me for me. And you got to respect that. You got to love that. On top of that, one of the other things that was wild was Dennis Rodman, of all the veterans, to not like Allen Iverson for his outspokenness, the way he dressed, whatever it was. Dennis Rodman thought that Allen Iverson was disrespecting the game. Dennis Rodman thought that Allen Iverson needed to, class it up a little bit. Of all people, Dennis Rodman, ladies and gentlemen. So it was a wild time, and Matt Breen will walk us through all of it when he joins the show coming up in a minute. I will talk about the Flyers. I am going to talk about the Flyers. I am talking about the Flyers. Mike Yo, I think, said it best after the game. I don't know what to say. Flyers are leading 3-2 over the Capitals last night with about 3:30 left in the game. Mayhew gets, I think, his second goal of the game to put the Flyers up 3-2 with about 3:30 left. The Capitals then scored 3 goals before the game was over, including an empty netter, and that was all she wrote. They scored 2 goals in 2.5 minutes, to take the lead, and then they added the empty netter. I don't even know what to tell you at this point. Although I will say this, what got the wheels going a little bit, my friend Mike Mulhern, who was the producer of Philly Sports Talk when Amy and I were hosting, great guy. He actually produces Eagles pre and post game. Does a great job. Tweeted this out yesterday. And he was like, who gets the C after Giroux gets traded? Because I think it's just inevitable that Claude Giroux is getting traded. And like, who becomes the Flyers captain? Right away, normally I would say it's going to be Sean Couturier. But Sean Couturier is injured and done for the year, so you're not going to see him again. So who would get that? Who would get the captaincy after that? Food for thought. for everybody. I mean, you would think, well, Jake Voracek, he's not here anymore. He's gone. Like, you think about the longest tenured guys, who would be the guy to get the captaincy after Claude Giroux? Carter Hart, Ivan Provorov? Maybe Ivan Provorov gets it. So there's just some food for thought, but the Flyers, man, just continue to be a lost season as much as I hate to say it. It pains me to say it, but that's exactly what they are. Hey, remember the sport of baseball? If I could, for just a second. I know I said I wasn't going to get into it too much because it quite frankly, it hurts my heart. I was thinking about this yesterday as I was reading about the 15-minute interview that happened between the two sides, the players union and the league. And I went back to 1994 and not to go back and talk to you guys about my youth the entire time, but 12 years old. No, I was younger than that. I was 11 years old. And I cried, man. When they canceled the World Series, I cried. I was really hurt by it. And now as I approach 40, I have found myself not loving baseball, not to the point where I'd really cry over anything really at this point, because I'm a heartless human being. I'm a soulless man now. But baseball isn't what it used to be to me. And from a lot of people I talk to, baseball isn't what it used to be for them either, because the sport has become, even for a slow, boring sport, it's become only slower and more boring in my adulthood. Baseball, who the hell do you think you are? And this is the problem with baseball. They still think they're the NFL. And they were for a long time. For a very, 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 very long time. They had the clout and the pull and the attention that the NFL gets today. The only problem is now the attention is going to the NFL. Now the attention is going to the NBA. Baseball, for even a lifelong number one baseball fan such as myself, watches games continuously in the best stage possible, the MLB playoffs, and I'm seeing bullpen games. I'm seeing openers, not starters. I'm seeing guys just, lollygagging throughout the damn game. I'm seeing pitchers being changed every second, going to commercial every single second. I'm seeing a game being dragged out. I'm seeing numbers slowing the game down more than ever. The excitement is just not there anymore. And nobody has got 4 hours to sit there and watch an entire baseball game. I mean, people would blame my generation for the MTV generation. Oh, my God. Oh, your attention span's killed because of MTV. Well, what do you think, Twitter has done? Do you think that people's attention spans are growing? Oh, quite the contrary. Unless you're just binging shows on Netflix. No. But when I watch baseball now, it just feels like an efficiency expert needs to come in and take it over. But they can't, because they're so hell-bent on enforcing every single number, every single piece of information, every analytical piece of information that you can install into the game and the game plan during the game is used. It's not what it used to be anymore. Baseball, do you think people are really going to stick around for this again? Especially after the height of the pandemic, after everything started up and you guys had agreed to health and safety protocols, and now it was a matter of working out the money. There were 3 different times 2 years ago where baseball was dead and they weren't going to have a 2020 season. And yet somehow they worked it out. And they a 66-game schedule, whatever the hell it was. I don't know. Baseball's boring now. I didn't pay attention. But for me, baseball thinks they can withstand everything. And what they continuously do is tell their fan base, we got a business to run. At least the other sports, they hide it pretty well. They let the business people work behind the scenes a little bit farther. They close 2 curtains now instead of just one, where MLB, it seems like every couple of minutes, they just peel back that curtain a little bit. Hey, guys, look at everybody negotiating. Isn't this fun? Baseball's fun. It ain't what it used to be. And yet they still think they have this grasp on the American audience. And then meanwhile, the American audience is just like, maybe I'll do more fantasy football research while baseball's not going on. Or maybe I'll do that between pitches, and maybe I'll pay more attention to that than I am before I pay attention to what's going on in the mound or the bullpen. Oh, the 7th pitching change this inning? Cool. It ain't what it used to be. It's fallen from grace. And this is from a lifelong baseball's number one guy. And it ain't number one for me anymore. And that's a shame. Let me tell you about somebody that is number one, Mike Seibert. It's called a transition, folks. Mike Seibert, RICP, financial advisor for Eagles fans only. You heard it right. Eagles fans only. His firm, Destination Retirement LLC, is a full-service planning firm and an affiliate of 1847 Financial. Let him create a written financial plan for your accumulation years and your distribution years. All you got to do is call 484-275-6035. That's 484-275-6035, and Mike will help you out. With pensions few and far between, you're on your own when you retire with only a 401k or an IRA. So let Mike help you turn your assets into an efficient income stream that you can't outlive. Mike Seibert is here to put a plan in place to help you retire. And if you're already in retirement, he'll put a plan in place to help you alleviate from people's biggest fear, running out of money. Come on, Eagles fans, with stock market volatility and taxes probably going up, you need someone as your financial head coach with the experience to tackle these obstacles. With over 30 years of experience in the financial game, Mike Seibert is a seasoned veteran who is committed to helping Eagles fans get to and through retirement. You can reach Mike at 484-275-6035. That's 484-275-6035, or visit destinationretirement.com. That's destinationretirement.com. Click on the find out link at the top of the page and fill it out. But make sure you give him a call first at 484. That's 484-275-6035, 484-275-6035. Mike will get back to you and let you know how he can help you with retirement. And as always, go Birds. How about my friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right on Jewelers Row. Every day, the perfect price. You know why people like to say, I hate Steven Singer? Well, two people say, I hate Steven Singer. One is other jewelers. Because Steven makes it so easy to buy a diamond ring, and he does it without a huge markup. Other jewelers, they'll mark things way up just to mark it down in front of you, make you feel like you're winning something. You're not winning anything. They're still winning. They're still getting you. But at Steven Singer Jewelers, he sets it at the perfect price. So that way, when you come in, you don't feel like you have to negotiate or haggle or anything like that. You don't have to worry about if the person next to you is paying more than you or less than you. All you got to worry about is that perfect price. And IHateStevenSinger.com's got all the inventory, ladies and gentlemen. You can check out all the beautiful diamonds, everything they have at Steven Singer Jewelers. It's spectacular. The other people that hate Steven are the people that are looking to get engaged. But, I don't know how to buy a ring. I don't know anything about diamonds. They're too expensive. Steven has real jewelry experts standing by at the ready to walk you through all the beautiful diamond engagement rings, all the beautiful diamond tennis bracelets, the earrings, the necklaces, everything at Steven Singer. So you don't got to worry about what you know. You get taken care of and treated like family every time you're at Steven Singer, and every time you get the perfect price. So you also know that you're not getting taken advantage of. That's why people say I hate Steven Singer, because all the excuses go out the window because he makes it so easy to buy that ring. The other corner of 8th and Walnut, every day, the perfect price, always fast and free shipping at Steven Singer Jewelers. That's IHateStevenSinger.com, IHateStevenSinger.com. Without further ado, let's jump on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line and talk to one of my favorite guests that we have on this show, the pride of Archbishop Ryan High School. My friend Matt Breen joins the show. I use this term a lot, a man for all seasons, but Matt Breen truly is a man for all seasons. Matt, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. It's a man of all seasons. Can't complain. I love that name. There we go.
Well, the day we had Thursday, it was beautiful. It was like we had a nice, like spring day in the middle of February. You can't really hate that too much.
And I'm gonna probably be freezing cold next week, so the man of all seasons is ready for it. There you go.
Yeah, you'll be bringing old man Winter with you, a good friend of yours. Let me just ask you this, because you wrote some great stuff, and I really want to get to it. But I got to ask you this because I know you got a great background in baseball and all that, Matt. Are we going to have a baseball season? Is that actually going to happen?
I don't know. I if I had the hedge on it, I would say I would be prepared for a delay to the season. I can't imagine they're going to wipe out the whole season like the NHL did, years ago. But I also, if I was covering the Phillies right now, like I was, a couple months ago, I would be prepared that I'm not going to be covering a regular season in April. I think it's going to get pushed into May, maybe June, who knows. These sides, again, what I'm reading, just like you're reading, and they don't like each other, and they haven't liked each other for a long time. And this didn't come out of nowhere. You saw this coming 2 years ago. You knew there was going to be something this offseason of with the CBA, whether it's going to be a stoppage, a strike, a lockout, whatever. There was going to be something, and it happened, and it's probably maybe worse than maybe people expected. Spring training is supposed to start this week. There's a mini camp in Clearwater right now. I don't know how excited that gets people, but it's a shame. But to answer your original question, it will
it's
not going to start on time. That's just my prediction.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And my kind of, I don't know, I think the tip that we all had was during the pandemic, at the height of the pandemic, when they apparently had agreed on all the health issues surrounding it, they couldn't agree on money and how the money was going to work. And both sides were kind of digging in then, almost 2 years ago, in preparation for this moment right now. So it was like, really, this fight's been going on for 2 years.
Yeah, that's a great point. That was like the appetizer. Like that gave you a little taste of what the real meal was going to be when they got to the table for this. If you couldn't agree when the country is in a pandemic, you're not going to have people in the stands anyway. And baseball at that time, sports was being used as like an escape for people to have something on TV during the day when they're working from home, whatever. Like the world we were in 2 years ago was crazy. And they still couldn't agree. So they couldn't agree then. They can't agree now. And it's just, I hope, just for the sake of all of us, that we have a team to watch sometime. Give me June. Before then, that's my goal would be to have the Phillies in June. I think we can wait 2 months, I guess.
And I think we're going to have to, unfortunately. Both sides met Thursday for 15 minutes, which is basically all you have to know.
They pretty much recorded a podcast.
Yeah, they were a guest on this show, and then they're like, "Ah, the hell with it. We hate that Farzy guy too. He's out of here." Now I want to ask you about the fun stuff, because you're writing these great feature pieces for the Inquirer now. Inquirer.com. People can check it out. Here's the most latest one, and it has to do with Allen Iverson. Now, this was my guy. You and I around the same age. This was the era we grew up in, with Allen Iverson taking the league by storm, both with 30 points per game on the reg and all that, 30 shots per game as well. And his style and everything was just different than everything that we had seen. And I actually forgot this. I did not remember this until I read your story, Matt, and it's a phenomenal story. In Cleveland, where the All-Star game is now, 25 years ago, Allen Iverson was booed, and not only booed, bad-mouthed by a lot of stars at the time. Dennis Rodman, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, all those guys. It's amazing. Former coach John Lucas, Pat Croce's in the story. Now, did you talk to these people now, or are these old quotes that you're reusing for your story?
No, I went and found. So how it started was, again, I have like a Rain Man memory, useless knowledge that once in a while it pays off like this. And I was talking to one of my editors, and this new job I have, I pretty much 75% of my job is just coming up with my own ideas, and they say, go ahead, do it. And he was saying, hey, it's 20 years since Kobe got booed at the All-Star game. And I said, someone's going to write about it. I said, oh, that's cool, I guess. I said, where's the All-Star game at this year? He said, Cleveland. I was like, oh, last time it was in Cleveland, AI got booed there as a rookie. I just remember that. I was a kid. It's one of those things you don't forget. He goes, oh, that's cool. That was the end of it. And I was like, natural curiosity. I went into our archives and read about it, watched the clip on YouTube. And the more I read, it's like what you said. It wasn't, he didn't just get booed. Well, why did he get booed? There was the crossroads at the league was the Michael Jordan era was coming to a close. And now it's the Allen Iverson era. And this radical player is going to, is he the face of the NBA? And people didn't know, because again, he's not Allen Iverson yet. He's the one that we know and like love. He's just a rookie coming into the league. He's totally different from, what the league is used to seeing. And there was this unrest brewing all season. Every team where, all these veteran players would take shots whenever they could at him. It gets to Cleveland. It becomes this story because the NBA 50 was that weekend. Again, like if you remember that, I remember those guys getting those leather jackets at the NBA 50. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So,
they did it at halftime. Like half the guys were sweaty as hell.
It was awesome. Like it was like, that's like the kind of stuff that's filed away. And I'm like, finally it paid off 25 years later. And they were asking the legends, what do you think of Allen Iverson? This radical, guy, he's got cornrows in his hair for the first time. Was that game? He played with a buzz or a little hair going into it. So it was like the perfect storm. He gets booed by Cleveland. He never forgets it, which I didn't know until I started doing the story. Every time he went back there, he had a great game. Always would say afterwards, they booed me at the rookie game. 4 years later, like he's going to be the MVP that year. He's still talking about the rookie game. So I ended up looking at who could I get access to. And then when I was talking to a colleague, Mike Jensen, he brought up, he's like, the one thing I love about AI is that he's always given love to guys on Twitter. And I'm like, oh, you just connected the story. Now it wasn't just like, oh, remember the moment, time. It's like, well, what's the story? The story is, remember when he got booed by fans and it was fueled by older players, retired players, veterans, not giving him crap. Now here he is, the older player, retired veteran, great. And he's celebrating the young guys, even though he wasn't celebrated when he was a young player. So he's given the love that he's not getting. And that kind of made the story come together. And I was lucky enough that the Celtics got me Jason Tatum at their shoot around this week. And I was also lucky enough that Jason Tatum, like, I don't know Jason Tatum. I've never met Jason Tatum. He retweeted Allen Iverson's thing to him last year. So I thought he was a good idea. And he gave me, like, it's one of those interviews that, like, it's like he did the interview. I asked him maybe 3 questions and he just kept going and going. And he was answering my next question before I even got to it. And it was just, you know how it is when you leave somewhere after, like, interviewing someone that hit. It was like, wow, like, you just, you brought my story together for me. So it was cool. Pat Croce was great on the phone. Aaron McKee, Temple got me Aaron McKee. He got his rookie year, the coach of the Sixers that year, got me him, and he was great. 30 minutes on the phone. Like, that's one of the cool things about this job so far. This new role is that it's been 6 weeks, and I've talked to. And it's not just Phillies anymore. I'm able to, like, branch out and do all this different stuff and talk to, if I went back in time and said, hey, you're going to talk to Aaron McKee on the phone, or Pat Croce, or Chase Utley, like, just all these guys that, like, growing up, and it's just like, in the span of 6 weeks, it's been a lot of fun to dig into other stuff. And the hope is that people like it. And this story today, I didn't know how people are going to be like, who cares? It seemed like it resonated a little bit. And that's always nice to see too.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I took away, well, a couple of things. One was one of the interviews you did with John Lucas, who you just mentioned.
Not John Lucas.
I'm sorry, not John Lucas. His rookie coach.
What the heck is this?
I'm blanking. I can't believe I'm blanking
too.
But anyway, you're interviewing him, and he says when AI was a rookie, one of the things he said to him was, if you're on the sidelines and you're not playing, wear a suit and tie, dress like Jordan, dress like these guys, and you'll get ads out of this. You'll get endorsements out of this. You'll make money out of this. And AI said, yeah, but that's not me. You might be right, but that's not me. And that's one of the takeaways I always have from Allen Iverson.
And that was like, that's what you're looking for when you talk to people. It's not just, I loved coaching Iverson. He was great. Like, he gave me a concrete example, and that's what made the story come alive is stuff like that. And he said, that I respected that. He's like, I didn't, it's not like I didn't have a problem with that. He dressed like, he said Iverson dressed like a rapper. He's like, I didn't have a problem with it. But when he told me he did that because that's me and I'm going to be myself. And if people are going to like me, they have to like me for me. He said, I really respect Allen Iverson for that. And I thought that kind of brought light to the story too, because we always saw Iverson wearing throwback jerseys on the bench or stuff that you don't see guys. They don't dress like that. He dressed like he was hanging at his friend's house. And now when you hear why he did that, and that he could have went another route, but he said, I want to be me. And I think we can all kind of appreciate that.
The other one was, and it wasn't an interview, but it's just a reference in the story, Dennis Rodman at the time saying, like, this guy doesn't dress right. He doesn't respect the league. And at the time, that was Dennis Rodman, I think, post-wedding dress, Dennis Rodman, post-colored hair, all that stuff. So that was a very different era, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I love, like, late at night going through our archives and reading. You get the whole PDF of the page and what it looked like in the 90s and going back. And we're so lucky that we had, like, such great writers at the Inquirer, Stephen A. Smith and Bob Ford, and on the Sixers at the time. And I'm reading Bob Ford. He made light of that. He's like, Dennis Rodman's going to tell this guy how it is. Like, it was just so good. So again, like, it's stuff like that helps these stories. Like, you have these resources because, these writers were so good in our city. We're just lucky. We had such a great town of sports writing.
Absolutely. It's a great piece. It's on my timeline. It's obvious on your timeline as well. People need to check out this story. 25 years ago, Allen Iverson booed in Cleveland, and he didn't let that bother him, unlike somebody else, Ben Simmons. Now, real quick, I want to ask you this question because I know, again, the man for all seasons, James Harden is now a Philadelphia 76er. When he became a 76er, he has yet to play a game. How did your expectations change for this 76ers basketball team this year?
I think, again, this is just expectations of, guys talking sports. I think you have to have expectations that they're a finals team now. You had Embiid, but you were playing without a max contract player. So think about, just a void on the roster without having not just Ben Simmons, just that money wasn't being spent on the court. And now it is. And it's being spent in an NBA 75, a future Hall of Famer, just a great player that I think wants to win too. He's been everywhere. He doesn't want to have this reputation that he forced his way out of, Oklahoma City or Houston or Brooklyn. I think he wants to win too, and Embiid's playing out of his mind right now. So the expectation has to be that this is a finals contender, and it definitely more so than it was before the deal.
I love it. Almost as much as I love this picture that you tweeted earlier. This is just classic. Now, for the people that don't know, that's not me on the right with a goatee. That's Matt Geiger. That's Allen Iverson in the middle, obviously, and Larry Hughes, or as I refer to him, not Paul Pierce.
Yeah.
So that is the big, and I love the comment, big three. That's
I had to think of a caption. I didn't know what to write.
Yeah, right.
I always loved Larry Hughes' N1 tattoo on his arm, and I always, that's the thing in my head. Like, he had an, if you asked me yesterday, I'd be like, I'm pretty sure he had N1 tattoo. So I found that photo today. I'm like, I was right. He does have an. I remembered that. Like, there it is.
The thing that always cracked me up was Geiger, who had zero muscle mass, always had not always, but he had the barbed wire tattoo around. That was a big thing in the 90s, man, to have the barbed wire tattoo. You had to have that if you were a tough guy.
Him and Bill Goldberg.
I knew you were going to get a wrestling reference.
Sneak one in.
Yeah, sneak one in, of course.
I couldn't wear my wrestling shirt, so I had to sneak in a reference.
You're the best, man. You're the best. Last thing, I want to steer it back to baseball real quick here. And I love what you said about the Sixers, the expectation of being a finals team. The name I'm constantly hearing in a name full of nothing, because the Phillies farm system has been bad for a long time. It's one of the worst in baseball. Bryson Stott. Now that you're not on the beat now, but you obviously have covered them most recently. When it comes to Bryson Stott, what have you heard about this young man? And is he worth the early hype that he's getting?
It's going to be interesting once camp starts for real, and if Didi Gregorius is on the roster, because in December, Dave Dombrowski told Bryson Stott that when you come to spring training, you're going to be competing for that starting job at shortstop, and I think they would really like him to win that job. And he has the bat to play. Concerns about the glove, but he was pretty good there. Graded out well there in the Arizona Fall League. And the Phillies Dave Dombrowski said, he's not going to be Ozzie Smith, but he'll be good enough. And that's, I don't think anybody's going to be Ozzie Smith, right? So
right.
Just hold your own, but we've also seen what bad defense can look like. So you can't have a butcher there, but I think he is a kid that's going to be good enough at shortstop and can hit well, and he's going to hit really well. And I would say, and my prediction was, in December, after talking to him, that, I felt that he was going to win that job if camp started in February. And whenever camp starts, I think he will win that job. And I think of when people ask me, who's in the minors? It's like, well, a lot of guys are in the minors, but one guy to know for this year is definitely that's going to have an impact is Stott. And then you're going to have to wait a little bit, but you have two young high school pitchers that are coming, and that's what you need. This team needs starting pitching depth, really top of the line starting pitching to produce from their farm system, and it looks like they might finally be able to do that in Painter and Abel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Matt Breen, make sure you guys are following him on social media. Make sure you're following all his feature pieces for Inquirer and Inquirer.com. He's doing a fantastic job with this new assignment. Matt, always great catching up with you, brother. Thanks so much, and my best to the family, my friend.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. The great Matt Breen, Inquirer.com, joining us on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line. Imagine that. Just for the kids that don't understand. The reason, here it is one more time because I can't get enough of it. The reason you call Larry Hughes not Paul Pierce, for all the kids that don't know this story, is that Larry Brown, after Johnny Davis was the head coach his rookie year, they brought in Larry Brown, and Larry Brown told Larry Hughes during a pre-draft visit, he told Larry Hughes and Larry Hughes' mother that he was going to draft Larry Hughes. So then the draft rolls around, and Larry Hughes is there, and Paul Pierce is still there. And Larry Brown decides, I already told his mom. I already promised his mom that I would draft him, so I drafted him. My Larry Brown is more like Jack Nicholson. But anyway, I told his mom that I would just draft him, so I drafted him. And Paul Pierce was still there. Larry Hughes, Hall of Famer Paul Pierce. Now, with even like like the revisionist history, if you will. Even if you look back on it, as I do often, too often, as a matter of fact, for a sane human being, even if you look back on it, there was nobody that was working with AI in that offense. Like Stackhouse was here already. They drafted AI. That didn't work. Stackhouse was gone. Then they brought in Glenn Big Dog Robinson. That didn't work out. Glenn Big Dog Anderson. That didn't work out. Like all these, or Robinson, those weren't working out. So if you had another offensive player next to Allen Iverson, odds were it wasn't working out. That's why Pat Croce and Larry Brown then decided, all right, throw this out the window. Here's the way we're going to go about this. Let's get a really good defensive team, serviceable point guard. AI plays shooting guard more, and everybody else plays defense while he just tries to shoot as many times as humanly possible because we're not going to stop it anyway for 48 minutes. So that's the way we're going to go about it. NBA Finals. That's the way it worked. But I'll never get over Larry Hughes and Paul Pierce. I don't think many people will. And rightfully so. Still what could have been. Probably wouldn't have been, but what could have been. But the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line brings us our guest today, Matt Breen, as always. So let me tell you about Rothman Orthopaedics. Maybe your knee gave out. Maybe you tweaked your back, or maybe you popped your shoulder. Well, what good is that shoulder now? Well, I'll tell you right now. It's going to be worth a lot. It's going to be good. If you go to Rothman Orthopaedics, Rothman approach to orthopedics is what you need. They're there to get you back to being you, back to running, walking, working, playing, back to living your life the way you want. And with same-day appointments available right now, you could get back to being you right now. RothmanOrtho.com. Visit RothmanOrtho.com. Rothman Orthopaedics, the official orthopedic partner of your Phillies, Eagles, and Sixers. That's RothmanOrtho.com. WinView. Hopefully you guys took advantage of the bets I laid out for you yesterday, challenging a friend. Oh, Embiid ain't going to get over 31.5. Got 31.5. 42 as a matter of fact. Oh, he's not going to get over 4.5 assists. Got you 5 assists. Hopefully we made you some money yesterday with the good people of WinView. So make sure you download the WinView app right now. And just remember, it's not a sports book. It's not daily fantasy. It's a social gaming app where fans can take on other fans and end the debate once and for all. Who is the biggest sports fan? I wonder what the odds are going off right now for Joel Embiid, MVP of the All-Star game. Do what I do. Use the WinView app and start having yourself a good time with some friends and family members. If you have friends and family members who think they know everything about sports, challenge them to a WinView contest and see if they can walk the walk as well as they talk the talk. My prop bet for the All-Star game will be whether or not Joel Embiid is the MVP, and I'm going to bet that he is the MVP going into All-Star weekend. So take advantage of all you can with WinView and the WinView app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's jump into our chat check and see how you fine people are doing today on this rainy and windy Friday morning. April leads it off for us. What's going on, April? Nice to see us. Kevin. Actually, Kevin, you let it off for us. Credit where credit's due. April's right there. Dan Schwartz, good morning. Dan just says, what a friggin' monster. You know who. That would be Joel Embiid. April, good morning. Fuji, what's up, Michael Fuji? What's going on, buddy? Happy Friday to me and everybody else. Sixers with the big win. It was a huge win for the Sixers last night. Here's the way my day is going to go. I am going to see a friend of mine who's been on this show that I'm working on the special project with. I'm going to see him later today. And he is going to convince me that Joel Embiid is not a guy that can close games for you. He's going to attempt to convince me. He is then going to say, but that step back three-pointer is looking pretty good. And I'm going to say the three-pointer ain't nothing new, bro. The step back ain't nothing new, bro. That's what I'm going to tell him later today. So I look for, like, you ever know you're going to see somebody and know that you're about to get in an argument with them? It's called marriage. No. But did you ever see somebody and know you're just, I know if I'm going to see that guy later today, we're going to argue about this. Well, guess what? No better time to argue your point when you're extremely right anyway than after a time where you're extremely, extremely right. So there you go. And that'll be because of Joel Embiid's performance last night. Step back threes, many threes, playing on the perimeter, running the offense. Gotta love every second of it. So yes, he is a monster. Wait, what? What is the green thing behind me? Really? The Fanatic hat? A lot of people think this is a green screen. It's not. It's my tributes to the Philly Fanatic. The greatest thing ever in sports. You guys don't know this hat? Here, you know what? In honor of baseball. April knows. Dan asked if it was a witch. It was not a witch. April says, come on, Dan. I recognize those eyes anywhere. Dan, right you do, April. Morning, all. Good morning, Sean. Nice to have you. Dan, laugh my alpha. PJ, April, eyesight going for what? Dan, your eyesight must be going for real. And I can never fully become the bad guy that Rodman was. He didn't have it in him to hang out with North Korean dictators. You know, if you would have told me when that wedding dress, what was it? Was it the Cosmo? What was the magazine that was on GQ or something? I don't know. But if you would have told me that, hey, this guy's also going to be hanging out with North Korean dictators, I would have been like, what? No, he's not. I know he's crazy, but he's not that crazy. Oh, he's that crazy. Yeah, April, I'm with you. The lockout in 94 hurts, but not as much. This one not as much? Yeah, this one not as much as 94. You know what's crazy? I was helping my parents clean out the garage some years ago. And my uncle owned a baseball card shop. And he had all this memorabilia, but he was storing it at my parents' garage for a little bit. A lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it. And we were helping clean it out, and a lot of the stuff was taken away by my uncle and all that stuff. But I found a 1994 World Series baseball. Like, it just had the insignia of the 1994 World Series. And I tossed it to my mom, who's a big baseball fan. I said, Mom, what's wrong with this baseball? And she's looking at it, and she's like, oh, it was a World Series ball. Okay. And she's like looking for something, an imperfection. And I was like, there was no World Series in 1994. And that brought back all the feels. And that was like 5 years ago. Anyway. Wow, Dan Schwartz, a Montreal Expos reference? Okay. Dan, that's a great observation. I'm going to have to clip that and send it to Matt. Matt Breen looking like a young Stephen Colbert. It's crazy. That would be a Stephen Colbert of the Dana Carvey show, for those of us that know of the Dana Carvey show. Fantastic. Look it up on YouTube, folks. Waiters Nauseated by Food, featuring Stephen Colbert and Steve Carell. Head writer on the show, Louis C.K. That was a show and a half. It's the Taco Bell Dana Carvey show. It's the Muggs Root Beer Dana Carvey show. It's the Mountain Dew Dana Carvey show. Hey, who's ever paying the bills, man? To quote the great Dana Carvey himself. Johnny Davis, who's AI's coach. Thank you, Mike Fuji. Appreciate you. Couldn't think of it in the moment that we were doing the show last night. I referenced it before, though. Dan did. Oh, here we go. Sean Gillespie. Billy King making Matt Geiger a very, very, very rich man needlessly. Another story for the kids. If Matt Geiger waived his no trade clause, Allen Iverson would have been traded a lot earlier than he was. A lot earlier, like a decade earlier. Dan's asking me, did I see the Zach Lowe report about James Harden not opting in because he wants to take maybe less money? This way they could free themselves of Tobias Harris' contract, and they could bring in another star. 3 eggplant emojis. Dan, that is very worthy of not 1, not 2, but 3 eggplant emojis. So I'm glad you went 3 eggplant emojis there. I did see the report. I hope that's the case. Anytime a star is willing to take less money to make the team better, yeah, man, let's party. Larry Brown is Jack Nicholson. Your Jack Nicholson is God knows what. Yeah, it's terrible. I apologize. Guy Fieri. Oh, the hair in the thing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Wow, I'm blind. Literally can't see. Yeah, how did you not know it was the Philly Fanatic hat? Marketing whiz Cindy Webster gave me this hat years ago. There's a picture of me and Barcan wearing them at WIP from years ago. It's a real hoot. 2 guys that just hate the camera, Barcan and I. April, what the hell? I don't understand why Marc doesn't wear the hat daily, Sean. It's because of the lockout? It's because I'm not a hat guy. Here's the problem. And you know what's funny? When I rewatched Seinfeld, oh, Sean, there is a documentary on Dana Carvey on Hulu. I got to check that out, the Dana Carvey show. It was like, so Chappelle's show took the world by storm after 1 episode. And it was, rightfully so, it was incredible. The only other show that I ever watched that, like, from the first episode was like, what was the Dana Carvey show? The Chappelle show and the Dana Carvey show, even though Chappelle's show lasted longer, Dana Carvey show blew me out of the water. I was like, what the hell is this? This is amazing. And then Chappelle came around years later and did the same thing in a much different way, still hilarious, but in a much different way nonetheless. They weren't doing the black white supremacist on the Dana Carvey show. They weren't running that bit. But yeah, I love this hat. I do love this hat. And I don't wear but so watching Seinfeld again, I realized that maybe subconsciously a lot of my thinking is Seinfeld. But if you remember one of the episodes, George doesn't want to wear a hat because he's afraid of what if he meets a woman while he's wearing the hat and then he's got to reveal that he's bald. For bald men, you don't want to ever have a reveal, especially if you're a young single bald man, as I was back in the day. No, I was actually never bald. I was balding in my single days. But you don't want to do the reveal. Like, oh, he's bald. Oh, this man's so charming, such a handsome face. And then you take the hat off. Ah, bald. Like, you don't want to do that. Unless she's into it, obviously. So there you go. That was probably higher odds of him being MVP of the All-Star game than the MVP of the league. Possible. Very possible. There you go. Yeah, the Dana Carvey show. I got to take this off. It's itching the hell out of me. Do I have any fuzzes? Do I have any green fuzzes going on here? No. This is another great giveaway. Community Energy. This thing dances in light. It's supposed to be sunlight. It's got a little solar panel that needs to be cleaned, probably. Anyway, so yeah, the Dana Carvey show is definitely something worth checking out for all the good people. Wait, T-Bro, what did April beat you to? Reminds me of Guy Fieri. Okay. That's a good toupee. Thank you, Sean. Dan says, I got to get more live guests. I think Riley Cote has really been our only live guest. Oh, no. Daryl Reynolds that one time. Because these guys are actually up at this hour. But it's funny. Before we started the show, obviously over a year ago, the day before I was going to tape my first guest, I literally realized, oh, my God, I'm going to have to tape all these guests. Because no one's getting up at 6:20 in the morning for me. I mean, people love me. Let's not get crazy. But, like, no guest is going to be like, oh, yeah, Marc, I'll come on with you at 6:20 in the morning. What? And then it dawned on me literally before we started the show. Oh, man, I'm going to have to tape all these guests just to make sure I get somebody good. Anyway, so there you go. Yeah, thanks to everyone in the chat. Appreciate you guys. The chat check. Piping hot takes as per usual. Appreciate you guys as always. Let's get into our morning rush segment brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Flyers lost their 4th in a row yesterday. They dropped to 15, 25-9 on the season. They dropped the puck. They have the next 3 days off. They have they're not back in action until Sunday on that's the 1st for a 3:00 puck drop with the Carolina Hurricanes. That's again at 3:00 on Monday, as a matter of fact. So they're off for the weekend. Definitely give it some thought as to who could take over as the captain if Claude Giroux is in fact moved, which I do think it is going to be back. Oh, Hugh, a little bit of a schedule change. April, thank you for asking. Mally, I know you've asked me about it as well. Had a little bit of a schedule change with Hugh, so we'll have some conversation with him, and we'll get him back on in the not-too-distant future. But Carolina Hurricanes, 3 o'clock puck drop on Monday, so they got some time off. These 76ers will not be back in action after their 123-120 victory over the Bucks last night. They won't be back in action until after the All-Star break, so that means they will roll around one more time, hopefully with James Harden. They're back in action on the 25th, which is they're off till next Friday. So they have a week off, and that's when they visit the Timberwolves at 8 o'clock. So let's see how all that works out as far as the 76ers are concerned. I saw this yesterday. I know I talked about during the morning rush, I talked about the sad parade that was the LA Rams. I've been caring about Matthew Stafford way too much since the Super Bowl. People have started talking about whether or not Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Famer. I don't think so. All right. I think he's benefited from a lot of rule changes in the NFL. Passing numbers being off the charts more so than they ever have. He's won 1 Super Bowl in his first year with his new team. Good for him. Hell of a quarterback, not a Hall of Famer. That's right now. People even starting that conversation, I think, is redonkulously premature. Then the other thing I have to care about all of a sudden with Matthew Stafford is how hammered off his arse he was at that parade. And good for him. He had spent his entire career in Detroit before going to Los Angeles. Beautiful Los Angeles, upgrade from Detroit, and then winning a Super Bowl. He should get hammered. And then I saw the video yesterday. I didn't see it before the show yesterday. I saw it after the show yesterday of that poor girl falling off the stage and fracturing her spine, I believe. Seriously injured her spine. And the video is her walking, trying to get a picture, and she falls off the stage backwards. And Matthew Stafford is standing right there, sees it, and goes, ugh, and runs the other direction. Meanwhile, I think it was Matthew Stafford's wife that then approached the edge of the stage to check on the lady to see if she was okay. Should Matthew Stafford have done something? Absolutely. But he was hammered. What was he going to do in that situation? Yes, it would have been nice if he at least showed some concern, walked towards her to see if he was okay. But he's blitzed out of his mind. He's not thinking clearly. Do I hold it against him for not looking to see what was what? Yeah. But am I outraged over it? No. There was nothing he could have done in that situation except save face of looking to see if she was okay. Yes, he should have. But he's hammered. I see people, Matthew Stafford, this is who he really is. Okay, all right. I don't think he was really thinking, let me play hero in this moment when there is no moment to play hero in, unfortunately. I expect nothing from somebody who's hammered. I expect less than nothing. And that's exactly what he did. Would I have liked to have seen him at least check in? Yes. Do I like to think that if I was hammered, I'd still check in? Yeah. But I don't know what state of hammered. I've been hammered where people tell me, hey, you said this thing to that guy. You shouldn't have said that. The next morning, I'm like, oh, damn. Oh, why did I do that? As I finish the other half of my cheesesteak, the perfect drunk food. So for me, I look at the Matthew Stafford thing and I think it's really unfortunate, but I'm not about to make an overall character assessment. Even keeping in mind what's the Latin phrase in Vierno Veritas? Like in wine, there is truth. How you are when you're drunk is how you really are. But if you're that blitzed, I still don't really think you're going to do too much there, especially when you have to address a crowd and you even sound more drunk than I originally thought you were. I see a lot of people outraged over it. The end of this story is that the Stafford family is going to pay for the young lady's medical expenses. So that is very nice. And I didn't see the video until I saw that tweet. I think it was from Adam Schefter. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And I started scrolling through the comments and somebody posted the video of the young lady falling off. And I felt terrible for her. But Stafford and the family is going to take over and pay the bills. So that's at least nice for them. It's pretty wild. April, that's a great point. He was drinking an entire bottle of Don Julio, didn't even know where he was, but yeah, still a bad move by him. Okay, I think we agree on that then. So there you go. There you go. Doesn't he do a podcast with David Spade, who Dana Carvey? Oh, I don't know. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure once again. Another fun-filled week. Thanks for joining me throughout the week. Our first week back from the paternity leave I was sort of on from the last 2 weeks. Appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. wonderful, beautiful All-Star weekend. And let's root on our 76ers in the All-Star game festivities and the All-Star weekend festivities. Jim Hyden produced the program, did a phenomenal job as per usual. This is a Buzz Sports and entertainment production from the Steven Singer Studios. This is the Farzy Show, brought to you by Destination Retirement. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Take it easy.